And so by being able to do my analysis and sniping that exact point, I was able to make $2,384, and that only took about an hour of my day. In this video, I'm going to take you through an entire session of my live day trading. I'm going to show you my complete process and strategy, the indicators that I use, as well as my specific trade entries and exits, and the real profit and losses that come from them. So you can basically watch and learn from my strategies. Because while it is fun to see the private team succeeding, I want to continue bringing value to you guys on the YouTube side as well. So today I'm going to be risking $500. We're going to see if we can get to our daily goal of 4,000. It's about 9:30 right now. It's time to hop into our session and start our day. So before I dive into any trades, I'm going to show you how exactly I set up my trading desk. Okay, so on my main monitor here, I'm going to have 3 windows. First window is going to be trading view. This is where I'm going to be looking at my main setups. Over here, I have my exchange pulled up. This is where I'm going to be placing trades and taking positions. Then down here, I have my Notion, which is going to show me my trading desk. And it's also going to show me this timeline that I built for myself, where I'm going to be able to log my individual trades down here. This is also going to walk me through a progression of what to do throughout the day. Over here on this other monitor, this is what my setup looks like. I have ETH, Solana, and Atom, which are day trading pairs that I like to look at. This gives me a holistic view of which setup looks the best out of all of them. That way I know I'm not missing any good trade setups. Then what I'm going to do is open up this calendar button here, and I'm just going to sort of keep my eye on any important pieces of high impact news that are going to move the market around. Once I have all of these things up, all I'm doing now is walking through the methodology each day, and it's always going to look roughly the same. First thing that we're doing is checking for important news events. We have core PCE, personal income and spending income month over month reports. This is going to definitely move the markets around. So after that, the rest of the session should be smooth sailing. The next thing I'm going to do is something called daily bias. So I'm going to go over to a 4-hour time frame, and basically what I want to do is just get a grip on the overall analysis to get any sort of indication or tip off as to which direction the market could be moving for the day. Some analysis that I did this morning, okay, I was able to identify this critical point here, this point, and then price made its way up into this point. What I look for are key areas of support and resistance. So notice how we have price bouncing off of this, breaks down, comes up, touches that point right here, and then now we're underneath it, coming up into potential resistance off of these points right here, and we're getting underside resistance on this same exact point it was rejected off of before. Okay, so I'm going to keep this pulled up on my scanner here so I can sort of keep an eye on this. And what I'm doing for my watch list methodology, I basically have all my different strategies here, and I'm just going to keep the main pairs that I like to trade bookmarked with this green label in this area so I can keep track of them easily. I also have an eye on them over here. Now we're going to take all of this and we're going to get into our trading session. So for this approach today, these are the 3 things that I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to be looking for something called a fair value gap, which I'll explain to you if you don't already know as we're sort of trading. So I'm going to be entering in the middle of these fair value gaps. Okay, I'm also going to be looking for something called a change of character, where we have a low, high, and then a level breaking under that most recent lower high. Okay, and I'm also going to be paying attention to trend breaks. Okay, as far as indicators on my chart, if you want to follow along, I have a few things. So first thing is called the IT Foundation indicator, which is in my Instagram. If you go in the description, follow me on Instagram and DM me the word tools, I'll have this sent over and you'll get access to everything. What I have is New York stock open time from 8 to 9:30, and that's exactly what's showing here, which is going to show me when the New York stock market opens. Second thing that I have here is Lux Algo Fair Value Gaps, which is a free indicator. You can just go into your indicators here and search for that. You'll see I have a threshold of 0.1 for my fair value gaps. That's going to produce these automatic levels on my chart here. With day trading, I have to make sure that I have all of my system rules being followed before I'm entering trades. So I'm going to be patient. When we find a trade setup, I'm going to show you how and why I get into it, and hopefully we're able to have a nice big profit day today. All right, so we just got a little bit of a pop. We did get that response back on the opposite side of it, and now we're getting momentum up. So what I'm doing is placing my order at the midpoint of this sort of push after our change of character. I'm going to place my stop loss underneath this responsive level, and I'm going to see if the price can pull down into this area and get us filled. All right, so we are into trade number 1. What I want to see is an initial response off of that level and see some bullish activity. It's not going to look super great if this just slices through the bottom of that level, which looks like could happen, but we are in our position. We're going to see if we can get a flip now. So we're starting to get a little bit of momentum, which is a good sign. Doesn't mean that we're in the clear, but it is a good sign to see this starting to move up. So I do see these levels too. So what I want to do is I want to start reducing my risk and walking my stop loss up. Okay, so this red line is going to be my new stop loss. I am going to bring this stop loss right underneath that most recent low. Now I'm going to start shaving some risk off of this position. What I'm basically trying to do is follow this trend level. So if this comes down and contacts that trend and gets a response, I want to stay in the trade to see if it can get another move to the upside. But what I do want to do is move my risk to break even. So I'm now basically taking a risk-free trade. If this wants to continue to move in our direction, great. Otherwise, I'm taking zero risk on this trade. So I've moved my stop loss back to my entry. See if we can get another push up. You'll see we do have over 2 risk factors now. If I'm risking $500, we have about $1,100 in profit. I'm going to go ahead and take off 1 risk factor to lock it in. It's going to take my position size down a little bit, but we're also longing into a extreme bearish day. So now we do have some money locked on the table, and we're going to see if we can continue to play this up. So price is starting to come down to our stop loss level. We could get out right here for the remainder, or see what will happen now is this will probably bounce off of the underside of retest of this and come back down. So I'm not hopeful that this is going to continue moving up anymore. I do want to keep that as an option on the table, but we did lock in 564. So we'll see what we get with the rest of this order. But all I'm doing is walking and reducing my risk over time. So you'll see I have this sort of vertical line here where I can track where the price is at, and it will sort of trend follow up as I go. I actually have never done this before. I've just created this today, but I'm going to start using it. So fun fact. So we're out of that trade now. We locked in another $135, $577 plus only $52 on this second fill, which brought us up to $629 on this trade. So it's not terrible, but it's not great, but it is a win to start the day. So I'm gonna finish logging this trade, eat some breakfast, and wait for trade number 2. All right, so I found another trade opportunity here on Solana. It's a little bit out of the normal, but I think it's rooted in logic, and it's starting to actually push really nicely into profit right now. So we have price sort of funneling down, trying to break these highs. So I know that it's sort of coiling like this into this zone. So it's either going to break to the upside out of here, or it's going to break to the downside and continue moving down for the rest of the session. There is a fair value gap with our sell signal right in this zone. So up at the top resistance level here, there was also a fair value gap. So I wanted to tap into an entry here, hoping to get a break below this low and then be able to trade this down if we are going to get weakness for the rest of the session. And if we end up getting this break, this is going to move really nicely. Otherwise, if this breaks to the upside, I'm hoping there is going to be some sort of big push, in which case we can play off of support off of this level and play a continuation to the long side. So I'm trying to get into this position at a time that makes sense, sort of anticipating that we do get a break underneath this level right at the midpoint of this fair value gap. So we are up $678 on this trade right now. I really want to get a nice move down. Now we got to see what happens. So letting this soul trade breathe a little bit. Luckily, exactly what I was hoping for happened. We ended up getting a fail underneath this key level. You can see we got a retest of there, and now we're starting to make our way down, and we're trying to drop these lows. I do have a larger time frame goal set for my take profit zone. You'll see if I go out to a 1 hour time frame, you can see this fair value gap is a high impact area right around 137. We have a lot of support in here, turned resistance, and this was the big initial push before we got this massive move up in soul. So this is going to be a really important area on the chart if we're able to get an all-day dump off. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm specifically targeting only that area, but I do have the expectation that we could get a significant move down, and I'm keeping my options open for the Solana trade to be able to capture a big move like that. So I have walked my stop loss down, basically following this overall trend here. So I have my stop loss reduced to this red level. So we locked in a little under 1 total risk factor, so a couple $100. So we can't lose any money on this trade, but I really want to let this breathe, and I'm hoping we're able to trade down for the rest of the session. So I don't want to crowd this trade too much. If we get another momentum push down, I'll probably walk my stop loss progressively over with this. So you can see where this point is intersecting with this trend is going to be my new stop loss level, sort of continually bringing it down over time. We're up $2,100 right now. It's just a waiting game to see if we can get a bigger push down on our macro move for the day. And if we can get this to move in our direction, this is going to be, I mean, all the way down to take profit is 18 risk factors. So that would be around $9,000 in profit. That's a pretty far-fetched hope. We got to actually have a big capitulation in the market. Let's see if we can lock in a good trade. All right, so for this soul trade, we were moving really nicely in our direction. At one point, we were up right around 5 risk factors, and we were able to lock in a little bit less than 1 risk factor. So we made 384. I would say confidence level was a 4 on that. That's bringing us up $1,000 on the day. We had 2 kind of nothing sandwich trades. So to be up $1,000 is 2 risk factors. It means we can be a little bit more risk on for the rest of the session. I'm going to go balls to the wall and try to take some really good setups. I'll let you know when I find trade number 3, and we'll get into it. So for trade number 3, I had my eye on Solana. Basically, we were forming another fair value gap into this resistance level, and I was hoping that it would test it again and then be able to have another failure down. It was a pretty small range, so I was hoping to just collect profit on it nice and quickly, but it ended up just chopping right through here and wicking out on our stop loss here. But I did lose $584 on this trade. So one loss for the day, 584, which is going to bring us up just basically one risk factor on the day. So in order for us to hit our goal, I'm going to have to find some really quality setups here and keep looking for them. So I'll let the market develop. Hopefully we can find a juicy trade number 4. All right, so while I was looking for trades here, we got a big push up in the market. So I was scanning between ETH and Solana, and I do have a nice Ethereum setup here. Change of character over this critical level. Resistance, resistance. This was sort of that wedge shape that was building up for the rest of the day. So it looks like we could get long here. And then I just need any level of support. So we're in our long position. Now we just need this to get a bounce off of somewhere around here and have a continuation push up. We just broke over these critical levels here. So a continuation into the session to fill this gap now is what I'm looking for. Once again, I'm going to try to reduce risk relatively quickly, and we're going to see if we can get a momentum push over this high. Cool thing about this is this could actually have a significant move. I mean, we have a lot of space to fill, so this could climb out of this level for a better part of the session. So I just need to get a confirmation to the upside without us slicing through this key level again. So we're going to see if we can get it done. I really don't want to stop myself out at even again and then have it continue to trade up for the rest of the day. So I'm holding the full risk on the trade. We're going to see if we can get a continuation on ETH. Can we break the high again? We're gonna find out. See, that's why I knew it was gonna come down and do some stupid, frustrating stuff. Realistically, what I'll do now, if we can get this candle to close, I'm going to walk my stop loss up underneath this low here. There's no reason to put full risk on the table anymore. So now we haven't eliminated the risk down to 0 yet. We definitely took a substantial amount of the risk off the table. Even without the break of structure up here, I'm basically going to trim the risk off of this. All right, so now we have a fraction of the risk on the table. We're just sort of trend following this. I just want to get some momentum, let it breathe a little bit, and we'll see if we can get there. I think this is going to stop us out right here, but at least it's a break-even trade, and we'll move on to the next if it doesn't continue. So out for a small profit, but basically break even on that trade. We just couldn't break above that level and carry out this trend, and we failed on this trend. So price is going to come down. Trade number 4 is basically break even. Right, once again, I know that the big win is coming. We just have to maintain patience. So I'm going to scan for more trades. We're going to see what the afternoon session brings us. Still trying to hit that $4,000 goal. Let's see if we can get it done. Am I getting punished for something? Like, look at what just happened to ETH. Comes down, I have the discipline to hold it into our level. Comes back down, tests our level. Doesn't quite break that high. Comes back down to test that level. We get out of our trade. Then moments later, we get our God candle up to 7 risk factors. Couldn't have got that candle over here. It had to happen now. $3,500 win. Rangy day today. Like, look at our first trade. Just had to come down and take us out for break even. Just beautiful entry, comes down, and now it's like just one trade. We just need one trade, you know? We have to follow our process. Working legitimately the whole day for like $400 so far. So I've been watching ETH, and we finally broke down underneath this key level that's been tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times today. So we have our change of character level. We have a small fair value gap in here that was sort of that impactful pushing candle. So I'm hoping we get an underside retest, fill our position that I have set up. Could get filled now, hopefully. Okay, so we're in here. We have our stop loss placed over this critical level here. I'm hoping we get a nice reaction on the underside of this trend now that just broke, and that we can finally get some sell pressure off of this breach of this trend. So we're gonna see where this trade goes for trade number 5. We have 30 seconds left on this candle to close below this level, and we're going to reduce risk. We're up about 750 right now pretty quickly, so I'm hoping that this does move or continue to move in our direction. We did get our nice response off of that key level, which is what I wanted to see. So I'm going to reduce risk down to this level, just over this high here. So now we're only risking a couple $100 to be able to make hopefully a lot more than that. So what I'm doing at this point of the trade is I'm walking my stop loss into profit. So now I have basically locked in $100 of profit in this trade. So we can't lose money. We're guaranteed to make a small amount of money in this trade. I really want to let this bleed and hopefully trade down a lot further, but we do have at least $100 locked in. ETH is starting to take another push up here. We got resistance underneath this level. So I have an alert set under this swing low. Basically, I'm going to wait for price to drop underneath here. And then once I have that confirmation, I'm going to drop my stop loss underneath this low. So now it's either this area is going to be respected or this one, in which case, hopefully push down and not catch support on top of this trend and continue up. But we'll see right now. Can't get the market to just sell off into one direction. So ETH decided to make its way back up to entry. So close that out for $173, which now I'm seeing would have been full loss now. So that's good. Super high confidence on that trade. So I'm going to step away from the charts for a little bit. I'm going to wait to see if we can find a really nice juicy setup. Once again, just keeping the risk contained, waiting for the big trade to come to us instead of chasing or forcing trades. We'll see what the next one brings us. All right, so the market started to push up quite a bit this afternoon. So what I wanted to do is find an area where I would potentially be able to anticipate some level of resistance. So on ETH here, I saw that we had this low area, and then price ended up coming up to this exact area. So all I was doing is waiting for an entry signal after getting to that sort of session high of the day, and then getting in on my entry here after my sell signal. And I saw that volume started to die off. I'm hoping that we're able to get a quick pull down underneath this level and hopefully be able to reset somewhere into the middle of this area and get a nice move in our direction. Another position here on ETH. Let's see how it goes. ETH's starting to move in our direction here. So what I'm going to try to do is trend follow this down. And basically this is where I blocked my stop loss. We've locked in over a full risk factor, and I just want to trail this down and see how far we can let ETH sort of roll off here. And I'm looking to target potentially even lower than this. I just want to sort of see how far this can continue to move down. So yeah, I'm just going to let this trade continue to move. We're up about $1,600 right now. Trade's looking good. We locked in 1,263 on that trade. All right, so let's see if we can take another trade. It's okay. You know, just as many times this is gonna sort of dump and then I'll be like, oh, I should have left it on the table. So I have to maintain patience if I wanna get those big wins. I wanted to take a trade before I headed to the gym. So I found a setup, let that run while I hit my workout. And thankfully this happened. So while I was at the gym, still waiting for this trade, literally coming around entry, we're up about 800 right now. Realistically, this trading session has tested my patience with just having to reduce risk over and over. I'm basically playing a game of defense today to try to let something work out in my favor. Really haven't had like too much momentum. It's just been like a chipping away at consistency, but we're up like 3,000 on the day. I'm preserving capital. I'm following risk management. It's only a matter of time before something works out in a big way. That's a trading strategy. So I'm gonna grab some dinner here and I'm just gonna sort of let this trade play out. I'm gonna reduce risk. So stop loss is gonna move up to break even basically, and I'm hoping that this level can break and we can get some momentum. I'm gonna grab dinner while this is playing out. And then I'm actually excited for my evening session, because if I'm able to close out like a decent profit with this is going to get me up to, say we were able to make $2,000. That's going to get me to 4,600. And then I just need one big trade. I'm trying to basically beat, like I obviously want to hit the $4,000 goal, but I want to beat my 7,500. I think it was something like that from a few weeks ago, which was my biggest single day with this strategy. So I want to be able to get up higher than that. Because if you think about it, risking $500, being able to make over 10 risk factors, it's just really, really exciting. So hopefully get a push. We're up 1,200. Gonna try to go for that 7,500, but 10,000 is the ideal goal. We have an evening session coming up. Trade is starting to move in our direction here. Just gotta get home to be able to close it out in time. Breaking highs, I'm about to close it ASAP. I'm gonna walk the stop up to here. If this wants to pop further, I'll just walk my stop loss, 1802. Trade's still open. I wanna see if this can pop a little bit more. I don't wanna snuff it out. All right, out of the trade for about 2,800. That red line is where I took the trade off the table. I want to see if this could sort of like continue pushing up. So I was able to lock in 2384, all said and done, which brings us up to 4,200 on the day. So I'm gonna eat some dinner now, and when we get into work, I'm gonna try to find one more trade, push us up over the goal from last time, but I'm gonna focus on quality. I'm not gonna force any trades that aren't there just because I wanna hit my goal, but obviously the goal is kind of fun. So good trade down. down and let's see if we can find one more for the day. All right, so we got quite the push up in the market today at the end of the session. You can see the trade that we just took on Ethereum just kept going. After this big push, we kind of had our first roll off here in this break of trend. And then we had this area here that I just tapped into that I'm looking to potentially take to the downside here. So I'm hoping we're able to get some sort of resistance and a roll off of this trend, play back down to this range over here. This is going to be the last trade that I take for the day, hoping for our flip, and we're going to see if we can get a nice juicy trade to end the session. So it's about 11:50. I'm gonna let this trade do whatever it's gonna do. I have a take profit down here almost at equal lows. I have my risk reduced to 0, so it's either we end up 4,200 or this is able to take a massive dump overnight. We're able to make $3,100 while we sleep. Whatever happens, I'm sort of submitting to that. So we'll check to see the outcome tomorrow morning. Okay, we do have an outcome on the ETH trade, but first I want to take a look at all of the trades that we took over yesterday's session, because I actually took more trades in this session than I've ever taken, and it was kind of a strange day. So on trade number 1, I waited for this big displacement candle here, set up my entry. We had a really beautiful initial push. I was sort of walking my stop loss up. I took a half risk factor off the table just to lock in profit, and then this came down. I only closed this trade out for $629. As price started to funnel into this pattern, I was noticing we still had a really, really good sell signal here. Price was coming down into this triangular pattern. All right, so when price came up into this double resistance zone, I wanted to take an entry assuming it would fail, break underneath that level, which it did, and trade further down. Now with our daily bias, I was assuming the market would roll off for the rest of the session. So I was sort of walking my stop loss down as we went. Once again, we were up 5 risk factors at one point. All right, then price decided to come up and retest our walked down stop loss. So even though that was a win, I only locked in $384 between those two trades. The next trade that I took was a short position on Sol. I actually somehow lost the specific analysis, so you'll have to go back in the video and look at it, and I'll have to go through my footage, but this was a $584 loss. I was trying to short, came back up, and a little bit more after slippage in fees than the $500 risk. Okay, this next trade was on Ethereum, so price was coming up, sort of continually testing resistance on this level. We finally broke up above that level, so I wanted to take a long into support, into this fair value gap, and try to play this to the upside if we were going to start to fill this entire area for the day. A little bit unorthodox of an idea. Price came back down to my average, tried to break for highs again. I had the patience to hold on to it, but then once it came to reclaim that level, I was almost certain it was going to come down and sort of reattempt this lower level. So I took it off the table, and that's where we got a mega push up. 7 risk factors, could have been $3,500 up at this high. Unfortunately, we took this trade off for a $23 win, which I consider to be a break-even trade. All right, so as price was trending off of this level, I was noticing that we were contacting this trend level closer and closer, and then we finally had a break and a retest into this gap on this trend level. So I wanted to hop into the trade, so I took a position on that. Was hoping the price would come down. We didn't quite get a close underneath this swing low level. All right, I still walked my stop loss into profit a little bit, and then price came back up to retest the underside of this trend. So the technical entry was 100% there. Really, trading is about getting in at those good technical points, and then if the market's going to carry into our direction, we already have a really good entry on the position. Otherwise, we're able to reduce risk, and if it comes back around, then we don't get the full move. All right, so on this trade, I was able to lock in 173.5. Now we've had 5 trades, and they're all for all these small stop out take profits. No real big take profits yet. So at this point, we were starting to get a really big run up. So I was looking at trying to identify key areas. I noticed this level, this level, this level, and then was retested again at this level once we got our break under that level. And I started to indicate some weakness with the sell signal. I entered a position right here, and we did get price to roll off temporarily. Price was continuing to move. I was trying to maintain being patient. I think the screen got cut off at this part. We got a response off of this level and immediately got a flip up. So I reduced risk to over this swing point here and got out for 2.66 to what I was risking, which locked me in another win of $1,263. At this point, I wanted to see the market sort of develop a little bit. So I entered a position in this zone, tested that level a few times, and finally broke out of that top level and got a push. This is where I was getting dinner. I wanted to see if this was going to continue to pop. So I walked my stop loss up underneath this level and then was able to take profit for 5.7 risk factors, and we made $2,384 in profit on that one trade, and that only took about an hour. And then right before bed, this is the sole trade that we were waiting on. I was watching this massive uptrend on the day happen, so I wanted to try to time some sort of weakness. We finally got that break underneath this level. I tapped into my entry here, which made contact beautifully, and then we got a sell-off in the market, so everything moving really nicely. I brought my stop loss to break even, and the goal was to let this sort of trade overnight. So as this happened overnight, we came really close to our take profit level, which was actually down here. All right, and then price didn't quite make it down there. I was sleeping, so I wasn't able to reduce risk, and then it came back up and touched us out for a break-even trade. Technically a $14 win, but break-even trade in my book, which gives us to end the day a 50% win rate, which is actually higher than my average, which is about 37% on the strategy, for a total profit of $4,286. Now, the goal was $4,000, so technically I'm $286 over my daily goal, but I'm really looking for that, $10,000 day, and I really want to get 10 plus risk factors in a bunch of juicy trades. So that's really what I'm looking for, but still we're able to hit the goal. If you like these videos, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to know when I put other videos out. Okay, if you want to watch other ones, they're right here. If you want any of these tools that I'm using, so the trade journal or any of the on chart, go in the description, follow me on Instagram, DM me the word tools. I'll have that sent over to you. But until next time, I will see you all in the next video.